Welcome to the Milford Board of Selectmen meeting for Monday, November 19th, 2012. The first item that we have on the agenda is the signing of the warrant.
Motion, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? If not, all in favor. Any opposed? That's unanimous. We have meeting minutes for our November 5th, 2012 meeting.
Motion, Mr. Chairman.
Just a comment, Mr. Chairman. There was a topic, and it doesn't have to change the meeting minutes as long as it's the board is reminded that when we discuss your comments regarding the Capital Improvement Committee, we had also within that same discussion talked about openings and an attempt to close those to give the board a full complement of members of the Capital Improvement Committee. It's just something I want to make sure that we follow up on, look to the talent bank, and if we have to recruit, we can recruit, but I know they're down some members. And I want to give them the best opportunity.
Okay.
They
All right.
can.
So you're not looking to amend the minutes?
No, I just want to, it was something I brought up then. I just
Sure.
want to make sure to bring it up now. Maybe we can get it in these minutes and see what we can do about filling up that board
Just
with membership.
for your information, we did check the talent bank. There are no applicants, so recruitment might be your only option.
All right, that may
at
be
this
it, right?
point.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you, Louis.
Maybe after the first of the
So
year.
we'll
we can-
make some calls and talk to people about the need for people on the Capital Improvement Committee. But other than that, I'll second the approval of the minutes.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor? Any opposed? That too is unanimous. The next item that we have is citizen participation. Seeing no one here, we'll move on with our agenda. The first scheduled appointment that we have is with the Nightlight Lounge regarding a transfer of license and change of manager. Let me just run through some of the paperwork that we have. This is a public hearing indicating that the town has received an application from Nightlight Lounge, Inc. of 31 Central Street, Milford, to transfer the restaurant all-alcohol license to Central 31 Realty LLC, Ronald A. Pagnini Jr., manager. The premises consist of 3 rooms on the first floor of the 1-story building with 2 front entrances and a basement for storage. We have the Form 43 from the ABCC, which has been completed by the applicant. We also have the retail alcohol beverages license application monetary transmittal form, which again has been completed by the applicant. Along with the application, there is a request to transfer the existing common victular license, again between the same entities, as well as a transfer of the existing live entertainment license. We have notifications from our town departments. Essentially, the building commission has indicated that it's an allowable use for the building and restrooms. The restrooms are handicap accessible. There's no change in the actual use from the town planner, no tax issues from either the tax collector or the town treasurer, and the fire chief and the police chief have issued no objections, issues, or concerns. So with that, we have Attorney Laura Mann and Ron Pagnini. So, folks, I turn it over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. It's pretty self-explanatory. Everything's set forth in the license. I represent Central 31 Realty LLC. We were the secured creditor. We had transferred the business to Nightlight and had a pledge of the license. It was by agreement between the owner and my client to have it transferred back. So that's what we're trying to do in this. And we're hoping to, right now, the license will be in Central 31. Ronnie's willing to operate it in that way if that becomes the best option. He's also looking at other options, which would obviously be back before you for another transfer. At this time, we're just trying to get it back into Central 31. It's, you know, you're familiar with the property. It's, you know, I don't know that there's any other really good use for this property, but we have had some interest lately that I think would be good business, you know, to go into that location. As you probably know, Central 31, we did a lot of work in that building to improve it. We did all the, required improvements for the handicap accessible and things like that. And we want to keep it as a good property. We're the owner of the property, so we want to maintain it and find a good tenant or operate it, and that's why we're here.
Okay, let me turn it over to the board.
Yeah, no question, Laura. I think, Ron, as you know, that was one of the major, I think, the renovation projects in that area to build up the business. And with your family, the background, I'm sure that, you'll definitely be successful. And any ideas for, like, the coming months, anything different or anything at that location?
No, it's keeping our options open.
Okay.
Talking to a few people. Try to get a good person in there.
Good quality tenant,
Sure,
yeah.
yeah.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
Well, everything starts off with the owner, so I'm sure that you'll do it right. It's a, nice location. Central Street now is a very nice, pleasant area, so hopefully it'll continue to do well. So good luck.
Yeah, thank you.
Bill?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. No, I don't have any questions. I think the applicant's well-known to the board and to the community and well-respected, so no issues or questions. Wish you a lot of luck in whatever you do there in the future.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So are you going to be looking to operate this and open it immediately in the short term?
I don't think it's on the short term. We're hoping to be able to find a good tenant that we would then be back before you to transfer
Okay,
it.
all right.
If not, then we would have to go through the process to, to open and operate it. And Ron is fully aware of the obligations that involves, and he's willing to do it, and he would be the manager. But that's a lot of time and effort, and so
Right.
we're looking at other options also at this time.
So right now, you
It'll
don't...
remain closed at right
Okay.
now.
Okay,
Yeah,
Yeah.
initially, yeah. It's been closed. It was recently closed.
okay,
Obviously maintain the taxes. We're going to maintain the property,
sure,
obviously.
yeah. I just didn't know what the, immediate
Yeah.
situation is going to be with the holidays coming up.
It wouldn't be open
Okay.
before the holidays. No, it would be next, probably in the January, February, we'll make a decision.
Yep.
Okay, all right, well, good luck with everything. I need a motion. To,
Separately or all three?
I think we can do it with a
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman, for the...
comprehensive, well-drafted
okay.
motion.
Pressure's on Dino.
Common Fitchler and entertainment license to Central 31 Realty LLC.
Okay, motion made and seconded.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? If not, this is a public hearing. Before we take our vote, is there anyone in the audience that would care to make any comment or question on this? If not?
No. It's a sidebar conversation.
Yeah, I know, I can hear
No,
that.
I was
You
wondering
want to
if
have
the-
singular motions?
No,
Oh.
the comprehensive was okay, but I
Transfer.
think we forgot manager.
Well, what do
So
we
we
have?
just include that, the change of manager to go
Okay,
with
so
it.
we're
Just throw
transferring
that
the
in.
restaurant all alcohol, the common victual, and the entertainment license, as well as
Change of manager.
change of manager.
I'll add that, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second
So-
that
Okay,
motion.
so we have now an amended motion, and no further discussion, no comment from any member of the public. With that, I'll take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous.
Perfect. Thank you
Good luck.
very much.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good luck, wish you the best, and if there's any you need, obviously contact the selectman's office, and we're here to try to help out. Great.
Ronnie, as you know, the board members sing, play the accordion, so if you need help,
You will guarantee to
that
get
in
no
mind.
customers then.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item that we have is the tax classification hearing. So we have Priscilla Hogan here, as well as, looks like Joe Nero, Joe Arcudi from the Board of Assessors, and other representatives from the Assessor's Office. While you're getting ready, Priscilla and the Assessors have provided us with a package of information. This too is a public hearing. I'll read the notice. The Board of Selectmen will conduct a public hearing at 7:15 PM, Monday, November 19th, 2012, in Room 3 of the Milford Town Hall, 52 Main Street, on the issue of allocating the percentage of the tax levy to be borne by each class of property for the fiscal year 2013. Residents may attend this hearing to speak on the issue or may make their opinion known in writing to the Board of Assessors, Room 13, Town Hall, prior to the public hearing date. And, you know something, I'm going to just ask you to hold Priscilla for 5 minutes, and we'll cover up a couple of items here just to run out the clock. I wasn't aware that we were as efficient as we are. Let's go to old business, and that would be item E1, which is the recommendation from the town administrator in terms of the release of certain executive session meeting minutes. Lou?
Yes, we had these on the agenda for the last meeting. That was for the intent to approve at the subsequent meeting. So we've had these for a couple of weeks. I think they're all in order. They're all properly set out, so I would request that you vote to recommend the release of these meetings.
Are we looking at two motions on this, or is it just one motion to release?
Just the one to release.
And then the ones that are protected are
Stay-
obviously protected? Okay.
Motion, Mr.
Questions,
Chairman.
comments?
No, I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman.
Motion made
I'll second.
by Dean, seconded by Bill. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor? Any opposed? That's unanimous. E2, this is in response to a petition that we had received from, I believe, Mr. Nolta on Bancroft Ave and other individuals who had requested the town make Bancroft Ave one way between West and Water Street. I asked Lou to get the opinions of our town engineer, police, fire, and highway surveyor. We have all of their memos, and without getting into the detail, they've all recommended against doing that for a number of reasons.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Nolter is a good person. He's been working, I know he attended some of my neighborhood meetings and working with the police chief and all that. And this is something that, we took very seriously. We sent it to all the officials, and for one reason or another, and, we have to go by the opinions and recommendations of our appointed officials. They all recommend that we do not make it a one-way. So I would support the recommendation of the officials.
Bill?
Yeah, I thought the police chief, our chief, and town engineer laid out good rationale in terms of why it shouldn't go to a one-way. And I would agree with their opinions, and I would second the motion to support the recommendation as it stands now.
Well, we're not going to change anything on Bancroft Ave, so we don't need a motion, but we can send Mr. Nolter notification of the action, or I guess no action taken,
Right.
In response to
I'll
his
send them a letter, and
request.
I'll send them a copy of,
I think so, yeah.
Copy of the
We can send them
responses from
copies of all the
officials.
memos, too. That'd be a good thing. Okay, great. Dean, do you have any old business?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Bill, do you have any?
No old business, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, that brings us right up to 7:15, and let's backtrack a little bit, and now we can commence our public hearing. We've already read the notice, and looks like Priscilla's got the computer all torched up, so you're ready for action.
Since this
Okay.
afternoon, right, Priscilla? The machine.
Yes, I just have to move ahead, sorry, this head's on slide.
Okay. I guess, yeah. Yeah, I'm probably gonna refer to it.
Okay. That will buy time.
Yeah, should I do it now?
I'm gonna slide in one more slide that's missing.
Okay. Is that okay? You tell me
So
whenever you're
first
ready.
one. I'm trying to get to the first one. It was there earlier.
You know, while we're waiting for this, I can read a notification that we received from the Industrial Development Commission. They once again expressed their continued appreciation of the Board of Selectmen for the opportunity to comment on the tax classification process. Milford continues to remain competitive and business-friendly, and the cost of doing business is a big part of that. The portion of the tax shifted from residential to industrial uses under the dual tax rate system obviously has an effect on industrial development. Business and industry should pay their fair share, but to prevent a cumulative negative effect on the business sector, excessive disparities in the shift should be avoided. The Commission has reviewed the data recently provided by the assessor and notes that if the current 1.48 shift is maintained, the average industrial tax bill will increase by 2.68%, the average commercial tax bill will increase by 1.63%, and the average residential tax bill will increase by 3.06%. Therefore, the Milford Industrial Development Commission urges the selectmen to consider maintaining the shift at 1.48 if at all possible, and that is dated November 14th, 2012. So we have that into the record.
Okay,
Are you all set? Okay, great.
Board members, it's a pleasure to be back again this year. We have finalized our triennial certification with the Department of Revenue. And with doing that, new values for fiscal 2013, the residential class is now at $145,666,576, which represents 77.2509% of the total value of the town. The commercial is at $338,435,358, representing 12.1848% of the total value of the town. Your industrial class is $186,694,966, representing 6.7216 of the total value. And the personal property comes in at $106,730,954. The total of the commercial, industrial, and personal property represents 22.7491% of the total town, with the total value of the town being $2,777,528,854. Sorry. The second slide will be, machine's not cooperating much tonight.
It's okay, you kind of...
The second slide that we have is really talking about the assessed value and the change in class, which I would like it to come up, but it's not going to. The residential has decreased in value from last year by 1.57%. The commercial has decreased in value by 1.77%. The industrial has decreased in value by 2.13%. And the personal property has increased by 3.77% from last year's values. So the overall decrease of value in the town was 1.44%. This next slide we have is showing you the total budget of the town as was passed at town meeting. And it's $89,969,385.58. With all of the numbers that are being presented tonight, I used the 148 shift, so we're comparing apples to apples from last year to this year. So the estimated receipts for this year comes in at $35,143,652.23. So you subtract the estimated receipts from the total town budget, and you have a tax levy of $54,825,733.35. That's the amount that has to be raised with taxes. You divide that by the total value of the town, You multiply that times 1,000, and you get a single tax rate of $9.74 a thousand.
19.
Oh, I'm sorry, 19, yes, 1974. This slide is usually the one that has the most information on it. It shows the changes in value. I've broken it out as I did last year. You can see on the top line, single families, condos, 2 families, 3 families, multifamilies, your commercial and your industrial properties. It shows what this year's values are and how we get to the average value. You take the total of the class, you divide it by the number of parcels, and you get your average value. So for 13, on the single families, you've got the $262,841. And you see that whole line going across, seeing what the average value is for condo, a 2-family, a 3-family, a multi, your commercial and industrial. Using the tax rate at the 148 shift, which is comparing from last year to this year, if we're at the 148 shift, the residential rate would be $16.95, the commercial rate would be $29.21. So your average tax bills in each segment is on this line here. Your average single family is $4,455.15. Your average condo would be $2832.47. Your 2 families, $3,656. Your 3 families, $412. Your multis, $11,497. Your commercial is $22,000, and your industrial is $30,825. Average tax bills in those classes. Last year's averages we show down here, and it's showing the differences of what you have. So from FY12 to 13, your averages are going, your values are going down 1.68% in your single family. The condos went down the most this year at 3.6%. Your 2 families are at 1.46. Your 3 families, the only class that's going up by 0.8%. Your multis are going down 3.33%. Your commercials are down 3.13, and your industrials are down 2.14.
Now, Priscilla, if I can just stop you for a second. When you say going down or going up 0.8, you're talking about the value of the property.
Values.
And not the tax or
That's
the tax
right.
rate. It's just the valuation of the particular property.
Exactly. That's where our values went in each class. And I find this a little more helpful for people at home because we're not just doing the single family, and it doesn't show the whole picture of what's happening in every different class and how different ones go up and down, and that affects their tax bills, of course. One of the things I thought was a good thing to show again this year, we showed it last year, but it was good to show again this year, is the FY11 averages, because more the percentage of changes the previous year. We had big changes last year. You're going to see big drops along this line. The single families went down almost 4%. Your condos were down over 5%. Your 2 families were down over 6.5%, almost 6.5%. 3 families were down 8%. It's showing a little bit, we're leveling off now. You're not seeing that major drops that we saw the previous year. So I think that's kind of a good sign that things are starting to stabilize a little bit, and I wanted to show that just so that you can see. And we're using FY11 sales when we do values.
Priscilla, when you've got those percentages below the FY11 average, is that the difference from FY10?
This was how much they dropped in FY11 from FY10.
From FY10?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So FY10 is your starting point, and then you've got the differential there.
Right.
Okay.
Right, and that shows you how much for FY11 they went down from FY10, and now you're seeing how much they went down from 12 to 13. So you're seeing a little pattern, hopefully, that we're leveling off now. And I do see that in the sales that we're currently entering in the system. So I think that's a positive thing
Right.
that we're
Still a
looking
tough
at.
market in commercial industrial though, right, with the losses there?
It is. You know, the one thing I have to say about Milford, I think, is probably a good thing, is they fill up their vacancies faster than a lot of other towns. We do have vacancies, but they don't tend to hang on for a long time, unless it's a really unique building that really can't transfer over. We do see them refilling, so I think that's another positive thing about Milford. They don't stay vacant for a long time.
Sure.
Unless it's a real abnormal type building.
Yeah.
So that's a good piece. Your
Now,
rents are going down a little bit, so you're seeing the values come down on that. Certainly, to keep them full, they're doing a little more negotiating and coming down on the rents.
And Priscilla, while they're empty or whatever, they're still paying the taxes on those properties.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, the taxes are still paid. And the commercial industrial people send us an income and expense form every year. And that's on their building. It's not on their business. Their business can be extremely profitable, but how is their building doing? What's their rents like? What's the expenses for the building? And that's some of the ways that's one of the ways we use to come up with value. We look at that, we look at sales, and that helps us know, are the rents coming down? What kind of concessions do they have to give? Because that makes a difference if they want to go out and sell that building, when investors are looking at that. So we use all that data when we come up with those values. The bottom line here is showing your average tax increase if you stay at the 148 shift for each one of these classes. Your single family would go up $132.42. Your condos are going to go up $29.42. That's low because they had the bigger drop than all the other types of properties. Your two families are going to go up an average of $116.50. Your three families $214.97, and along down the line here. And this is the percentage that they're going up. Your single family is going up 3.06%. Your condos are going up 1.04%. Your two families are going up 3.2%. Your three families are going up 5.66%. And your multis 1.33%. Your commercial 1.63%. And your industrial 2.68%. So that's how their bills the average bills would be going up.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Priscilla, as far as the $132 increase as far as the
Yes.
tax bill, and the tax bill, that's what is most important to people, as we all know.
Exactly.
As far as the other communities, what's the percentage? Is it higher than that? Is it lower? Do you have any idea? The surrounding towns?
There's only been, I believe, about 60 towns that have approved rates right now. So I have not really researched them to see how much they're going up. One of the things I have done in the past for the selectmen is once all the tax rates are set, you get usually a notice from me on where Milford falls within many surrounding communities. I want to think there's about 26. 35, okay. And it's not on the high end. It's usually in the middle of the lower part. So I think Milford, personally, I don't live here in Milford, and my community, I know what I get for services and what I pay for Milford. The services you get for the amount of money that you pay is extraordinary, I find. So I know people don't like to have their tax bills go up, but I think when you look at everything that's involved and what's given, it's very reasonable. One of the examples that's always kind of been given to me is how much do you pay on your house insurance or your car insurance, and what do you get for it? You might pay $4,000 on your car insurance. Every year you walk away with nothing. At least you have your schools, your fire, your police, your roads, your leaf pickup, your senior center, and all these other things that you do get for your $4,400. So I thought that was a very good analogy Joe Arcudi is one that always likes to talk about that, which I think is a good one. So that's where we are on that one. Is everybody okay with that now?
Yeah, no, that's a nice sheet.
This is just a quick little slide to show you what the difference would be in the tax bills without the $1 million applied to the tax rate that the town has voted to do. They voted at town meeting to apply $1 million to lower the rate. So your residential class with an average value of $262,841, that tax bill is dropped by $81.19. I want to say 19, because that's what, is it 49? I wasn't sure from here.
Yeah, we got a little
81.40. Right, the print doesn't come up that well. So the tax bills would have been that much higher had the $1 million not been applied. And on the commercial end, it's $408.40 that they benefit by having that $1 million applied towards lowering the rate. This is a slide I showed last year, and I think it helps for anybody that's gone online. They know the value of their property, and they get to see what we're looking at for tax bills rather than just the average tax bill. So this is all residential. Now there's your average rate at $262,841, your average value, I'm sorry. This is your 300, if you're valued at $300,000, your tax bill if the 148 shift is adopted, will be $5,000, a little over $5,000. If your value is at 350, your tax bill is going to be at $5,932. If your value is 400, you're looking at $6,780 and down the line. And it shows if you were to go with the different shifts, what the impact would be on those tax bills with the different shifts. If you went to the 149 shift, if you had a $262,841 value, your tax bill would go down $15.77. If you have a $300,000 value, it would go down $18 and down the line, $21.24. And if it were to be shifted at the upper end and you went to 147, then the tax bills would go up the amount that's down below. This slide is just to show the exact same thing on the commercial side of things. I just broke out again the different values on the top line along here that make more sense to the commercial folks. If you adopt the 148 shift, this is what these average tax bills look like. And if you shift in either direction, you're going to see the changes of what that means, which you folks have ahead of time so that you would know what the impact was if you decided to shift differently. This slide here is just to show you what the tax levy was last year, what it's going to be this year, and that's the amount we raise in taxes. So the amount we're raising in taxes is going up this year 3.41% overall. And this is the slide we come to always when you're going to make the decision on the shift. This is where we use the average single-family value, the average commercial value, what the impact would be on each bill, which we've gone over quite a bit. And also it shows here in each shift what the excess levy capacity is. And that is really what is used to lower the tax rate. You were not raising to the levy by this amount of money that you could raise to. So each shift has a little bit of a different number. It's not quite $1 million. They're all over $1 million, but it changes a little bit on the shifts. So that's where you will be when you decide to which shift you're going to choose. So this public hearing allows the Board of Selectmen to do a few things. One of them is to grant an exemption up to 20% of value on the residential properties categorized as the principal residence of the owner. This excludes summer homes, rental properties, and apartments. The communities that usually adopt this exemption are city or towns with many apartment buildings or oceanfront communities with summer rental homes. This allows the Board of Selectmen to shift more of the tax burden off the year-round resident. This exemption, if adopted, however, would increase the residential tax rate because the residential share of the levy must still be met. The determination of who would be eligible to receive this exemption would be extremely difficult to initiate and maintain in a community like Milford, where most homes are principal residences, and in trying to determine and keep track of which homes are actually rentals. There are only 14 communities out of 351 that adopt this exemption, and I did attach that list for you.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to take that up or...
No.
Okay.
I don't. Bill, do you need to speak? No.
Okay.
It really doesn't apply to our community.
Right.
This hearing also allows the Board of Selectmen to adopt the small commercial exemption. This exemption can reduce up to 10% of the value on qualifying commercial properties. Just some of the qualifications for this exemption are: 1, that a business must have less than 10 employees. 2, they have to have a value of less than $1 million. They have to be on the list provided by the Department of Workforce Development. The business has to occupy the space on January 1st, 2011. If this is adopted, it has the effect of reducing property taxes on some commercial properties and shifting those taxes onto all the rest of the non-qualifying commercial properties. Administratively, this requires each qualifying parcel to be calculated separately prior to setting the tax rates, along with the setup cost for the information to be printed on the tax bills. Currently, there's only 10 communities out of 351 that have adopted this exemption, which I attached those communities to your packet. And as I've stated in previous years during this presentation, for purposes of illustration, we are using the average single-family home value and an average commercial value. These averages simply represent the total value of the classes of property divided by the number of parcels within the class. We would like to point out that averages are not accurate numbers for any class of property, as a small ranch is not comparable to a large colonial any more than a large commercial property is comparable to a small one, as you saw earlier in the slides. However, an average value is useful for the purpose of this presentation, which is to demonstrate the impact on tax dollars if a tax rate shift is adopted. That's that.
Thank you. Let me turn it over to the board for further questions or comments. Dean?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chairman. I think the assessors always, Joe Cody, Joe Nero, Sam, the department, and you, Priscilla, do an outstanding job. And
Thank you.
And it's not just tonight, it's during, I mean, many people talk to us, and whenever they call the department, whenever they call your office, they speak to you, you provide the information. I think that's most helpful, and that helps in the whole process. It's a balancing act that we always, you know, try to do the best we can, and, you know, the tax rate, and I think what really helped this year was able to provide $1 million towards offsetting the tax rate, so that's a, you know, I don't know of how many communities can do that. And so I think we just have to, you know, continue to watch it as we do, and try to do the best we can, but you know, the job that you do and the assessors is really most important, and that's where I think everything begins. And you know, and that's, as we all know, some of the things that you've provided information on, the committees, especially with some of the older people, senior citizens who are trying to maintain their home, I think we've provided a lot of incentives at town meeting approval to lower the tax rate, getting, you know, $500 off, $900,000. So I think that's helped, and we continue to look at that to try to expand whatever we can before the town meeting. But everything begins with your department and you, Priscilla, and I want to thank you for that.
Thank you.
That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, thank you. Bill?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think, you know, the net result is taxes are going to go up, and they're going to go up by a function of what the budget's set for at town meeting. You know, I think Dino's comments are good ones in that the FinCom, the Board of Selectmen, the different financial team members are mindful and of the state of the economy, the health of the economy, and where people are with job losses and whatnot. And while it's not a sell, I'm not trying to sell it as much as it's important that we're clear that you know, there are a lot of people that fight in town government about whether we should apply any money to the tax rate, and it's been a source of contention for a number of years. But I think this year went extremely smooth. I think people are clear about the state of the economy, and that difference of $80 is significant. I've heard people refer to it as when the town applies money to the tax rate, it's effectively an underride, or but I've heard some people refer to it as leaving money on the table. So I think we've used a balanced approach to this, and I'm extremely appreciative of the presentation that you do, because I know you have to explain this day in and day out because it's complex. And probably the biggest question is why, if my property values are going down, are my taxes going up? And the short answer is the tax rate's going to go up by whatever it is that the town meeting sets the budget at. But I do appreciate the work that you do and the assessors do, and clarifying that for the different people that come to your office. I'm clear about this, so I don't have any questions, but I'm sure people do as they watch at home at times.
Okay, thank you. This being a public hearing, is there anyone in the audience that has any questions or comments? Okay, Priscilla, yeah, let me just say, you know, excellent job as always in terms of the compilation of the report. You know, there were a couple of things that jumped out at me that I thought were interesting. When you determine the valuations of the residential properties and the commercial, you examine what, the prior year sales or 2 years' sales?
We're in 2012, so we have to use 2011 for residential. For commercial and industrial, we used half of 2010, all of 2011, and half of 2012, along with all the income and expense information.
Okay, so there's a little bit wider range in determining the valuations on the commercial. And then it was slide 4 that you had that I thought was good, where you showed the differences in the valuations, and comparing it with last year, it's not as dramatic. So it's a good conclusion that you've made, that, well, in terms of the 3 families, they actually increased in value. So, you know, you've pointed out that the 3 families bottomed out last year, and the other groups seem to be starting to stabilize. So hopefully that's the sign of the real estate market rebounding and getting back to a little bit more financial stability. You know, the last thing that I wanted to point out, and you did, I think, in slide 5, showing the benefit of the $1 million to the tax rate. While there was a benefit to the residents of about $80, the average commercial saved $400. So even though Milford may have a dual tax rate, by applying that kind of money towards offsetting the tax rate, the commercial taxpayer derives a much greater benefit than the residential, which I think, looking at the whole context of things, and as both Dean and Bill have indicated, trying to balance things out, would seem to make fair sense. Let me just thank the assessors. We have Joe Nero, Joe Acuti here. Sam Bonazaro is also a member of the Board of Assessors. You have several members of your office here. Let me just thank all of you for the good work that you do. We rely heavily upon this information to make our decision tonight, and by doing the work that you do, it makes the decision easier for us. So with that, I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, there are 3 motions. The first one is that we maintain the dual tax rate, and the shift remain at 1.48.
I'll second that motion.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor? Any opposed? That's unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, that we not grant a residential exemption, 20%, right?
Motion made
I'll second that motion.
and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor? Any opposed? That's unanimous also.
And the third one, Mr. Chairman, not grant a small commercial exemption.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? If not, all in favor? Any opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.
So hang on.
Sign that up. Just have one to sign? Yeah.
Thanks, Priscilla. Good job.
I think there was more, right?
At least the machine held up. Thanks,
Very-
Joe. Joe,
very
thank you.
high-tech there, Priscilla, huh? You're sliding things through, pressing buttons, huh? Boy. All right.
Oh, yeah?
Earlier, though, I wasn't up there, that's the question.
Oh, hey, you know, you gave us a
Different
little,
issue.
you gave us
Just
a,
me.
you gave us a preview. You gave us a quick preview of things
you
to
very
come.
much.
We're going low-tech in a minute, Brian.
Oh,
Priscilla, your birthday
town
today?
council.
Oh, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Not low quality, low
Have a
tech.
nice Thanksgiving.
You too, have a nice holiday. Thank you. Town council. Here to talk to us about adult entertainment.
Yes.
Are you gonna be providing any for us?
I will provide no entertainment tonight whatsoever.
Okay. All right.
But I will give you a lot of paper.
Okay.
What I've done is, based on the decision that was made in Minden recently by the Federal District Court, and Minden's bylaw caused a lot of us in municipal law to take a different viewpoint of the separation of alcohol and adult entertainment that we did in the past. Under federal constitutional law, it's long been decided that cities and towns, local governments have the power under the First Amendment to require, if they find it's appropriate, the separation of alcohol and the protected adult entertainment. That's, again, long been the holding in the federal side. The belief was, based upon a couple of Massachusetts Supreme Judicial Court decisions, was that the state constitution, particularly the Article 16 Declaration of Rights, had a different result, and these cases were interpreted as prohibiting that separation, finding that there's no basis for that. But Judge Saylor, in the federal court decision in Minden, had a take on it that caused myself and others to realize that maybe that's not the strict holding of these cases of the Supreme Judicial Court, and that as long as there is a legitimate governmental basis backed up by factual information to require that kind of separation, that a city or town in Massachusetts could enact that kind of bylaw. And he actually upheld a bylaw in Minden that did that, which had previously been approved by the Attorney General also. But Attorney General approval is more pro forma, more to the procedure than the substance. So, as you know, we've talked about it in the past, and we once had a licensing rule and regulation that would have required that separation, but in part based upon the lack of a background for it and those cases, we rescinded that, which I still think was the right thing to do. But now the question comes as to whether or not this town should consider a bylaw that would also require the separation of alcohol and adult entertainment. Because as you know, the bylaw that we passed in 2008 does mean that we had to develop a bylaw, setting aside what happened in terms of the litigation over the proposal down on Route 16. We have a bylaw that if somebody comes in the large areas of land that are available and comes in with a proposal, we're going to have to grant it. There's no ability to ban adult entertainment. It is, although it's on the low scale, it's protected, constitutionally protected activity. So in order to have a bylaw that worked in the case that we just won, we had to be able to show, and part of that trial was showing to the court that we have these large areas in town that are available for adult entertainment if the proposal meets all the conditions, the setbacks, and everything else, as the Route 16 did not. So the day will probably come when Milford will become a viable site for adult entertainment. So what I'm suggesting is that your board and then ultimately town meeting consider whether or not there should be that separation of alcohol and adult entertainment. And what I've brought for you to begin that process, one very important thing is that there has to be support in the record, and there has to be legitimate support in what they call secondary effect studies, because what we regulate is not the adult entertainment. We regulate the secondary effects, the unwanted secondary effects, the property value drops, the traffic effects, the increased crime effects. So our zoning bylaw and any general bylaw we do doesn't regulate that activity. It regulates the secondary effects. So what I have in my hand is two things, separately held, is the secondary effect studies that I've been able to find that have been utilized nationwide and that have some validity, I believe, in terms of all the aspects of adult entertainment and secondary effects, but also the separation of alcohol, together with a number of cases, United States Supreme Court, federal court decisions, some state Supreme Court decisions also dealing with the same kind of issue, the ability or the need to separate alcohol and adult entertainment. And I'm going to give you each a set of these. This set, I'm just going to give to Mr. Swazi for your office right now. But upstairs on your desk, available for you, is a set of each, which again, I strongly recommend that you take, you study, you evaluate. I'm also going to give you a list of them for the record that we should have, of the studies that I've just provided to Mr. Swazi and the cases.
Good, we've got a table of contents
here.
here.
Table of contents that you can
Okay.
take home with you when you take your package home.
All right, good.
You can have a couple from the media.
You don't have that pile upstairs, you don't have to
Well,
be so
that-
dramatic.
I knew that you don't want the exercise, so.
Gives you something to read during the meeting, Lou.
Well, that's a good point.
Media too?
Yes, please.
Now, that's secondary effect studies, the court cases, that's your index of what they are. That again, I suggest at your leisure you look at. Now, I'm going to give you now is actually the draft that I put together of a potential bylaw. It's not cast in stone. I've given it to the chief, and I've given the chief the studies. And it's my suggestion that after you've had a chance to review all that, had a chance to review the bylaw, that at some point in the future you schedule a public hearing, for lack of a better word. The chief, I know, is going to want to come make a presentation on it. as to his view of the matter is, and I frankly don't know what that is. He's doing his own work on that. And the public certainly might want some input, and you'll have a better understanding of these secondary effect studies. But so this is the bylaw that I drafted, modeled on the Minden bylaw, not precisely the same. But you never like to reinvent the wheel.
Thank you, John.
And again, this is just a draft, so I'm not looking for any votes on it tonight. I want you to consider it together with all that you have, and set sometime after the first of the year, perhaps, to hold a hearing, get the chief's input, to get public input, and then decide whether or not you want to go forward with it, or maybe the studies will tell you that you don't want to. But that's for you to decide in the future. And this would.
So this would be a general town bylaw?
This would be a general bylaw, again, as opposed to the.
Not part of the zoning bylaw?
No, this is a general bylaw, right? Yeah. And that's the way this is generally done. Again, you had your licensing authority rule and regulation before, not properly supported in the record, and it would not have stood if challenged in any respect. But this, if you deem it's appropriate, if the town meeting deems it's appropriate, would have support, I believe, support in the record. And based on Judge Saylor's decision and my own review of the law, I believe it would have a chance of passing. Again, assuming that you and the majority of town meeting thinks it's a good idea. There certainly are arguments that can be made to the other side. So that's all I want to do now, is give you that. Again, not looking for any votes. I want you to go home, read it, study it, and we'll have an exam in a couple of weeks.
So I'll turn it over for questions. Dean?
No, I understand, and so sometime in the,
Sometime after the first of the year, sure.
Okay.
You should look, I think you should look to get it on the annual town meeting if possible. If you have one before that, look to
Okay.
that.
Bill?
Well, first of all, I want to thank Jerry just for being proactive and reacting to new cases as they come across, and where there's clearer interpretation or different interpretation. I think if everybody took their bets on the Menden bylaw and the prohibiting of alcohol, they might have thought differently.
Well, I would have bet against it
Right.
based upon my and everybody else's perhaps now misreading of these Supreme Judicial Court
Yeah,
cases.
and that took, I think, a private individual to insert that in there to challenge the status quo. So I appreciate you doing this and getting this out to us. I don't have any particular questions. Yeah, maybe the one that pops up, Jerry, is where establishments are popping up where it's bring your own alcohol. Is any of that?
This would also prohibit that. It prohibits alcohol whether it's served under a license or whether it's a BYOB.
Okay.
So that would prohibit that. It would prohibit alcohol and the protected adult entertainment activity in the same premises. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
All
covered.
right, that's why I wanted to ask that. All right, thank you.
Okay, so you've got this with the police chief now
The
as
chief
well?
has it, yeah, he's got all those studies and all those cases, and he did a good job back with the planning board when we, had put our bylaw in place back in 2008, and I'm sure he'll have a lot to say about.
The zoning bylaw.
I meant the zoning bylaw
Yeah.
back in 2008, yes.
Yeah.
So I'm sure he'll want to have input into it.
Okay, all right, so why don't we take that under advisement at this point? When
Sure.
the chief is ready with his information, then we can look at that as well. And then just keep this on the table as a possible article for the annual town meeting.
Yeah, if we're going to do anything, either the annual or the upcoming special.
If you have a special in February, this would probably be a good add-on, in my view.
We have to have a special, we have a special for that, the electric thing, or the solar? Are we doing something on that?
No, I was gonna get to that
Okay.
later, but if you wanna talk about it, I will.
Okay, no, not now, no, we'll do it under your
No.
report. I
Yeah.
just, I'm just trying to refresh my.
Whatever the
memory.
next one is.
Yeah, okay, good,
And,
Thanks, Jerry.
Mr. Chairman,
yeah.
one of the things that Jerry sent us information on is the recent ballot initiative. And I don't want to engage in a long discussion here, nor do I think decisions need to be made. But I just thought it was another opportunity, and I'm glad the council let us know about that, in that where that was approved. And I had a particular concern, and maybe it's just something we can get on a future agenda and have you available for, is, the possibility for medical marijuana treatment centers is something, that was, is very possible, given the recent vote. But I think of it as similar to, check cashing facilities in Framingham. where they go and how many we have are important, I think, and can have an influence on the quality of life in the community. So I appreciate that memo, Jerry, while you're here, and the opportunity to discuss that. But I think, as your memo stated, it may be a good opportunity looking forward to see what our bylaws, how our bylaws might adjust to that.
Yeah, I think it's important. That's what I was going to suggest that you do. I wrote that memo. I gave you the copy of the one that was proposed in Wakefield, and that in Wakefield would ban the facilities. Some communities are proposing to ban them altogether. I've actually had discussions with other town councils and city solicitors, and there's mixed feeling as to whether there can be a legitimate ban on it altogether. But one general part of the feeling was it passed by a 2-to-1 vote statewide, and it passed by more than 2-to-1 vote in Milford. So from that perspective, the voters have spoken that they want it. The law, as it will go into effect January 1st, will allow 35 medical marijuana centers statewide, approved by the Department of Public Health. So it's not like everybody can have one as a side business. So there'll only be 35 approved. And logic says that they're going to go into regional areas, and frankly, Milford is a bit of a regional center. So there certainly is a possibility of one legitimate one being proposed in Milford. So that raises the question as to, should Milford ban it altogether, which I really don't think the voters want that, but should it be regulated? Absolutely. And that's my ultimate recommendation, is that you work well with the planning board and find out what district or districts it should be located in, and what zoning regulations should be, put on top of what it will already be a set of state regulations out of the Department of Public Health. So that's what
Because as your memo outlined, under our current bylaws, it could be anywhere in any zone.
Could be anywhere in any zone except for one particular zone, but other than that, the whole town is open if you can get the affirmative vote.
Does that include near schools, churches?
No restriction.
No restriction at all. Okay, so it's appropriate that we think about that, and maybe we signal to the planning board, as you said. I personally, I can tell you that given the percentage of those votes and everything, I have no desire to ban it outright. So if it comes in here, it's where it comes in. I think it would be appropriate, and I think it's appropriate for planning to think that through before any licenses are issued.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I appreciate the latitude. While Jerry was here, I wanted to discuss that as appropriate time and place.
No,
Thank you, Jerry.
I'm glad you did, because that was the next thing I was going to go into.
Okay, all right.
The memo that he had. So let me turn it over to Dean if you have any
Mr. Chairman,
questions or
also,
comments on that issue.
I mean, I personally voted against it, but, the will of the people in Milford and the state is 2-to-1, so we don't want to circumvent the will of the residents. The other thing, Jerry, with 35 facilities throughout the Commonwealth, if you read the information that town council gave us, they talk about medical facilities, they talk about hospice programs and all that. So we have a wonderful medical facility, the Milford Hospital. So I think the likelihood that something would try to come to the town of Milford, I think would be great because of the medical facility. And if we can, think about it, look at all the information, and then maybe decide as a board to ask the planning board to designate one location rather than many, many locations. I think that would be in the best interest, and we can still, comply with the will of the people. So I think, but the fact that we have a hospital and a great hospice program, I think the likelihood of something coming here or wanting to locate here would be great. So it's better that we be proactive and come up with something.
Definitely you should, yeah.
Okay, so, I think we all agree with that, and your memo, Jerry, talks about, prohibiting it in zoning districts where the prohibition is appropriate, but to leave it available, presumably in a commercial or maybe industrial or whatever zone, upon the issuance of a special permit by the special permit granting authority, which would be the zoning board, I imagine.
Could be the zoning board, could be the planning board.
Could be the planning board.
As they might decide and recommend it down.
Either or,
Yeah.
where they can set other conditions and parameters about the use. So, would you like us to send a letter to the planning board?
I think that's actually
or do you
what-
want to take a crack at a
If
draft?
you want, I'll
or-
send them a letter on your behalf and give them a copy of the
Why don't you do
statute,
that,
pointing
Jeff?
out some of the
Think that makes
issues.
sense?
and-
Okay.
yeah.
Yes.
So you get a sense from this board prohibition is not
Oh,
what we're
absolutely.
looking
Yeah, no, I see
for,
that,
and
yeah.
Yeah, as long as you have
That's
the
one of
parameters.
my recommendation to them on your behalf will be that they look at the districts in town, see where they think it's appropriate, and think of what regulations they think would be appropriate, and communicate back to your board, frankly.
Right.
Because ultimately, they have to send it back to you, and you send it to them for a public hearing, so.
Yeah, I think we'd like to have them get the ball rolling, so that
Yeah.
too could be ready, for the next town
Yeah.
meeting.
No, I think it's,
Yeah, regulation is the key on something like that.
Sure.
Proper placement in the town, appropriate regulations, and
Yeah.
should meet everyone's
People have a lot of
concerns.
misunderstanding about it. Again, a call came into the town the day after the election, looking, where do I open my medical marijuana facility? So,
Well, when you look at what they did in California,
Right.
Jerry, that became very problematic in neighborhoods and
very much so.
communities, so
Yeah.
it's appropriate that we
This
do
law
this.
is, I think, a little bit
Different, yeah.
better, and I think the department, and it does assign the duties to the Department of Public Health to regulate it, and it's gonna, these places have to be licensed, there's a limited number, so I think it'll be better than California.
Yeah, but we should get out in front of the curve,
Absolutely.
before
Sure.
something hits the town, and then we're working on afterwards. And we know our town planner just loves working on zoning bylaw amendments, so
We'll
it'll
have a
give
lot of fun,
Larry a
I'm
nice
sure.
job.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Especially if we add some sign locations there or something. I think
There you go.
good. Is there anything else with the town council before we shake them loose?
Thanks,
All right.
Jerry.
Jerry,
Very good.
thank you very much.
All right.
Let's move on to the town administrator's report. Lou?
Thank
What
you,
do we have?
Mr. Chairman. A couple items. The first one, just want to report that the fence project at the senior center has been completed. And that's the replacement of the damaged fence along the back. And also the painting project here at Town Hall has concluded. They finished this past Sunday by doing the 2 vestibules, one on each side. The only thing that remains to be done here is the railing, and I expect that to be done. Well, I expected it to be done today. I assume it'll be done this week. Secondly, I'd like to remind everyone that the parking ban is in effect from December 1st to March 15th, 2013. Parking on the street is prohibited between midnight and 6 a.m. regardless of the weather conditions, and individuals will be subject to a $25 fine. Thirdly, license holders, anyone who has not renewed their 2013 license is now officially late. Any liquor license holder who does not sign their renewal form in the month of November will have to reapply for their license. And just a reminder, we have done this in the past. This is not our choice. This is ABCC regulation, so we'd appreciate it if you would be in the office tomorrow morning. I'd also like to remind all of our residents that Town Hall will be closed at 1 p.m. on Wednesday, November 21st, the day before Thanksgiving, and will be obviously open all day Friday, November 23rd. Relative to the last item, the solar, the solar issue that we talked about at the last meeting, I spoke to Joe Fitzpatrick on many occasions since the last presentation. Also spoke to National Grid, spoke to Ted Kozak, who's the town manager in Northbridge. In my opinion, estimation, National Grids, I mean, they're a partner in this. I even went to the web and pulled something off. National Grid is the partner to this, obviously, so they're very supportive of encouraging all their towns to participate if they can. Northbridge and Grafton are currently negotiating with Mr. Fitzpatrick, and at this moment, as of this evening, there may be 900,000 megawatts or 2.2 million available. He'll know that. It appears each town is jockeying and may be taking more than they originally had thought. I also raised the issue of the town meeting approval with Mr. Fitzpatrick, and what he did was I asked if we could sign a 5-year contract now as opposed to the 20-year contract and go to the town meeting at the annual and get the approval for the full 20. The lawyers are dealing with that.
Good thinking.
At
Yeah.
Con Ed.
Very
I
good.
just figured that might be easier. And I didn't think they'd bite on it, but he said quite possibly they'd go for it. They also finally Mr. Fitzpatrick raised the issue of Con Ed, who you know is the money behind the Northbridge field. They have been so encouraged by both Northbridge and Grafton's eagerness to jump in, and they see Milford leaning towards jumping in, that they're talking about expanding the field to make it larger. And again, there may be more kilowatts available. Our plan is Mr. Fitzpatrick will be getting back to me this Friday. So I'll have hopefully a final determination, or at least some final information for the board to consider at your next meeting. Okay, that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Dean?
No, thanks, Louis. Good.
I only got one.
Anything, Bob?
No, just a question on the solar electric. Was it Con Ed's position that they thought these towns could go to town meeting earlier than Milford?
They may be scheduling specials, yes,
Specials
because
and,
they have other things.
okay.
You know, I didn't know if the board was, if we just have one, I didn't know if you wanted to do that just for one. I tend to think it's probably not a good idea, but, I mean, if we have to, we have to.
Yeah, no, you're doing all the right stuff. I'm not, and
And
checking out
again, and it's the board's decision,
no, checking out
obviously.
the possibility of a 5-year contract
Right,
just
that's it,
until
yeah.
there's a town meeting is great
Thought
thinking.
that could
Right, yeah.
carry us
Yeah.
over, perhaps.
Yeah, good thinking. All right.
Any comparative information, though? Any other vendors, or, I mean, we need to,
They're coming, I've got information upstairs, I showed Jerry, I've got the contracts from Grafton, I got the contracts from Northbridge, they're still being negotiated. A couple days afterwards, it was in the Milford Daily News that Franklin signed one.
yeah.
And I called Jeff Nutting and got a copy of that contract, and that didn't even seem as, I don't even want to say this, but our proposal, the one that was being offered to us, seemed a little better.
Yeah.
So towns are jumping in on these.
No, I understand that, but I mean, besides the entity that Mr. Fitzpatrick has, what other entities are out there that offer
But
this?
none of, again, the one that you had previous to this one,
Okay,
which was not as good, I think we all agree. And again, we haven't had any other phone calls or follow-ups with new offers. So those are, Con Ed seems to be the one locally. Again, I believe that down the road, they'll be coming forth
Okay.
until the next.
well, I mean, you know, just the little bit that I know about it, it seems like a great idea. You know, not only can we, you know, achieve a cost savings to the town, but we can promote solar energy, which I think is important as well, so, yeah, as fast as you can get us some stuff on it, if we need to have a special to do it, you know, we need to have a special. I'm sure we can clean up some
Sure,
other things. I'd
sure.
rather do that than potentially lose the
I would-
opportunity.
I think if it came to that, I agree.
Okay. All right, let's move on. Under new business, we have the request from the Milford Permanent Firefighters Association for the annual Santa Parade, Sunday, December 2nd, stepping off at 4 p.m. from Veterans Memorial Drive and Hannaford Supermarket parking lots.
Motion, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Any opposed? That's unanimous. We have a memo from Lou indicating that with the appropriation at the recent town meeting for the purchase of a new animal control vehicle, he's seeking permission to dispose of the present 2001 Chevrolet Express cargo van. Intention to go to bid with the police chief. Plans on auctioning several vehicles.
Motion, Mr. Chairman.
Motion made.
Second.
Seconded, and if you get any money for this, Lou, I think it'll be a miracle with
If I
the-
get any money for that van, my goodness, the skunk smell in there is,
I
can't
mean,
get it out.
that's, I was almost surprised to see it on this one, you know, but,
Gotta
good
go through the
luck.
motions.
I know, good luck, that's unanimous. We have a request from Milford Youth Football and Cheer, which the cheerleaders are looking to can tag on public sidewalks and intersections to raise money to help them get to a national competition. We have a memo from the police chief indicating that they could solicit at the following locations: Congress Street in front of the post office, Winter and Main Streets, on the public sidewalk at Dunkin' Donuts, 31 Main Street, on the public sidewalk at Oliva's, on the public sidewalk at Hickey Liquor, and on the public sidewalk at Purchase Street Market.
Motion, Mr. Chairman.
So that just overrides the application and,
Well, that, yeah, sure, with that, if we vote on it, yeah, we would vote, presumably on the police recommendations,
okay.
which I think is a lot better than
Yeah, this one.
kids wanted to do. I don't
Yeah,
like
this
these
one
things.
troubled me a little bit, and, you know, we're all in favor of youth football and cheerleaders, but at the same time, we're worried about the public safety, and, you know, it takes one distracted driver to ruin a good thing and hurt someone, so. Yeah, and, you know, Lewis had talked about it today. Lewis and I talked about this particular issue, and one of the things that he had recommended is that we update the form, and I would agree with that, so that we'd have approval ahead of time, so we didn't have last-minute calls, because there are some intersections on the request that are problematic, and we'd have to reject those and then not know which the chief has signed off on. So that would make a lot of sense, in my opinion, and if we could get that, that would be great.
We're gonna update the form, we're gonna put a line in for the chief's signature prior to them submitting to our office. If it's one that's some, you know, include locations and things like this, we'll have the
Yeah.
chief sign off.
This took a couple of calls today, and I just wanted to make sure that, because that's always going to be my question. Are the kids safe, and is the chief approved these intersections?
Oh, absolutely. When I first looked at this, I was,
Yeah, the hospital intersection, I just immediately thought,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
a bad plan.
And then, of course, that 109 intersection.
109 is the
near
other one.
495 McDonald's, I almost cringed when I saw that.
4
so
lanes up there.
It's a very dangerous area. So I'm glad that we got this to the chief, and the motion will be on the locations as recommended by the
Okay.
chief.
All right.
Right, Dean?
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
okay.
All right.
Yeah, okay. All in favor? Any opposed? That's unanimous. Louis, you gave us a memo on pending capital projects. Do you
I
want to
did,
summarize
and
that for us?
I'd like some direction. I usually don't seek that direction, but in this case, I think it's necessary because of the transition. I've got some projects here, as I indicated, that I can do one of two things. I can wait, or I can get rolling. And again, I'll do whatever the board thinks is best. Let me quickly go through this. The town hall roof. Roof was last done in '94 and was fine until Hurricane Sandy. We knew it was coming towards the end of its life. But we picked up 2 barrels of shingles after the high winds were through. We've got a cost, estimated cost of replacing the roof of probably $130,000 to $150,000, which is not too bad. If it's okay with the board, again, and you don't hold anything back, I can approach Max Farrow to discuss a fee, and we wouldn't have to go out for or set up a design selection committee. Make it a little easier, and then at either an upcoming special or the regular, we can seek the funds at town meeting. In fact, this past weekend, I think Sunday they finished, I contracted with a local company, kept the cost under $2,000, and had them seal the roof upstairs. So we should be we're protected throughout the winter and the harsh. That'll get us till next year. I thought that was the smart thing to do, and I did it. So that's done. So we're safe. But again, if you wanna, I know Max would be interested. This is an easy job. This is pull them off and put them back on upstairs. So I don't see the need for a design selection committee, but obviously I'll go along with the board. The second thing is the town hall windows. $480,000 was approved at the October 22nd special. Again, I think this is an easy project, and if you agree, I'd approach Mr. Farrow to discuss a fee, and we could get the specs rolling, out the bid in January, February, ready for the actual work in the early spring. The third and final issue is the police station roof, and this is much more serious. $385,000 was approved at the October 22nd special. And for this, I would recommend that the board appoint a design selection committee consisting of myself, Town Engineer Santora, and Building Commissioner John Erickson. And again, I'd like to get that work done, design selection, which means you'd pick an architect, and then have the architect we'd negotiate a fee, and then get rolling for specs again, and hopefully you'd have that work done in early spring again. I think that's the best way to go, but again, I'll stand for whatever the board wishes.
Yeah, Dean?
No, Mr. Chairman, I think Louis has come up with a good plan. He has the expertise, has done it many times, and I agree with all these three scenarios, and I think it's something that it would be in the best interest for the town to have Louis be involved and not burden the new individual who comes on board, so I would agree 100%.
Yeah, Bill?
Yeah, I'm also in agreement. I think these make sense. We haven't talked about the roof yet, so I think that might be a surprise to some. But the roof is in poor shape, last done in 1994, so yeah, it would make sense that we get that process rolling. One of the things we have to do, obviously, is protect this building, and that's vital to protecting that new town hall, that painting, ceiling work we did, and the floor work as well. So,
Windows at some point, right? Yeah.
so these three make sense, and we'll leave it to the next town administrator to pick up on something else.
I'll get it started, though, and if you authorize me to work with Max on the two, I'll get it
Yeah,
started
I'm
tomorrow
okay.
morning.
Want a
That's
motion?
unanimous.
Yeah.
Go to
Okay.
town and get started as fast as you can on it. Okay. The St. Mary's is looking for a wine and beer license for December 9th from noon to 5 for a family get-together.
Motion, Mr. Chairman.
Approve? Second.
Any discussion? If not,
I'll let you approve.
that's unanimous. We have a request from Mike Brashani of the Parks Department seeking a waiver of the building department fees for the Pheno Field Pool Building Rehab Project.
Motion, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's unanimous. We have correspondence from John Burns, Chairman of the Town Library Board of Trustees, and indicating that at the November 15th Board of Library Trustee meeting, the Library Trustees voted to request a meeting with the Board of Selectmen to appoint a candidate to fill the vacant Library Trustee position, which was caused by the resignation of Vic Valenti on October 15th. So I think we can, should we put him on our next agenda?
December 3rd would be good.
Okay, let's put him on the next agenda and
Is it-
probably advertise for applicants, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to ask. What's the process?
Yeah, we're gonna have to.
Same thing we did last time. I think we sent out
I think
I sent out I know we sent out a news release
Okay.
indicating anybody interested.
But not
send-
not an advertisement. We didn't place anything in
No,
the paper.
no, news release.
Okay, news
Oh,
release,
this
that's
issue is a
fine.
press release, yeah.
And that would, I'm sure be in good light with the esteemed John Burns, the new chairman.
Yes,
All right?
yes, we've got to congratulate Mr. Burns. But yes, if you could issue a press release indicating that we'd be looking for folks interested to be appointed to the library board, and they could send their application, I suppose, to your office or
Actually, both. We'll have them send them to us and the
in
trustees.
the
Yes.
library trustees. Okay,
Okay.
so we'll have that on our next meeting. We received notice from the Temple Beth Shalom of the Hanukkah commencement on December 8th, and they are looking to conduct their annual lighting celebration on the first night of Hanukkah at 6 p.m. on Saturday, December 8th at Draper Park.
Motion, Mr. Chairman.
Motion made.
Second.
Seconded. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's unanimous. The police chief is requesting permission to dispose of 2 surplus vehicles by sealed bid, 2008 Ford Crown Vic, 2009 Ford Crown Vic.
Motion, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? If not, all in favor? Any opposed? That's unanimous. Do you have any new business?
No, Mr. Chairman, no.
Bill, do you have any new business?
I don't know if it's new or old, but I'll bring it up now. I was just curious if, I know that Milford's been a point of speculation for casino. I was just wondering if we've heard anything from the state or applicants, potential applicants. Louis, had you heard anything from anybody?
I think the last thing I heard, and I think I told you this in a conversation with Ollie at one time, I think I heard from David Nunes, who I thought would be getting back to us. I think he might have to get back to us prior to the end of the year. I have not heard from him recently. I was under the impression that applications somehow had to be forthcoming to the state very shortly, and that they would be going through the first step. But again, I have not heard from him. He called about, I think I told you, he called about a month ago when he heard of my news. He called to congratulate me. He said he'd be contacting me before the end of the year.
Okay.
That was it.
And, you know, for the benefit of the board, I haven't been in contact with Mr. Nunes, so he hasn't approached me either, so just letting people know that, because I have a fair amount of people asking me about, where is this
Sure.
casino proposal? And I know with the state's requirement to get the applications in and to show where their finances are coming from, I was just curious if you'd heard anything. Because normally, everything I'm getting from the newspaper. So I'm not
Pretty
getting
much.
calls from Nunes or
Pretty
any
much all
other.
of us are getting it from the newspaper.
All right,
It's also, I think, a hefty fee that they have to,
yeah,
I think it's.
over $400,000.
Yeah, so,
Yeah, really, the next step is really out of our hands. If he or any applicant wishes to pursue a casino license, they have until January 15th to file their preliminary application with the State Gaming Commission, and then that Gaming Commission is going to conduct a review as to the financial viability of the applicant. I don't know how long that will take, but if they approve that applicant's viability, then the applicant can go forward and deal with communities. But as far as I'm concerned, until that happens, I
Yep.
don't want to talk to anybody about anything, because there's nothing else for us to do.
Yeah, I just don't know if anybody's in contact. That's what the question I asked, if anybody had been in contact with Town Hall. Because usually there's a fair amount of work that's done from the business development and public relations standpoint that would happen before an application is submitted. And I just haven't seen any of it, so I was curious if anybody
No,
here.
his first application, like any of them, has to be towards the financial viability.
Right,
And the regulations are now in place. It's an issue between an applicant and the state, and not the community. So I haven't talked to Mr. Nunes. I've been following it in the Globe
Yeah.
and the other memos that we get from the State Gaming Commission, so I see what the regs call for. And, if he wants to go forward, that's where he's got to do it. If not, that's it. Okay, anything else on the new business, Bill?
No.
Okay. I wanted to raise an issue on the new business. It's been a few months now. We've got the new Chief Technology Officer on board, Leonard Beaudry. I'd like to request a report from him as to the work that he's done since he's been hired, what he sees as some of the issues that we have in the town, and what his plans are going forward in terms of the IT service that he provides. And I'd also like to request separate memos from each of our department heads as to their experience with Mr. Beaudry, the work that he's done, hasn't done, whatever their impressions are. And I'd like to look at all of those and see exactly where this position is and the work that he's doing to this point. Other items of correspondence, we have an application from Kristen Kibbe seeking to be appointed to the Milford Youth Center. Louis, do we have any vacancies on that?
Yes, one.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
She's quite qualified.
Is this,
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Is this the only applicant that we have for this, Louis?
To my knowledge,
I
it
think
is.
so, yeah.
I don't know that I see them all or frankly remember them all. I just, yeah, and So I don't have any issue with this applicant at all. I just want to make sure that we're not bypassing somebody else who may have applied. Okay,
Yeah, she's an engineer, right?
so I
Mr.
would
Chairman?
move to
Yeah.
appoint.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded to appoint Kristen Kibbe to the Youth Center Board. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor? Any opposed? That's unanimous. Those are all of the items that I have. Are there any items that you have, Dean,
No
on the
other items, Mr.
correspondence, Bill?
No, that's,
No, okay. We do have an executive session this evening to discuss salary negotiation about town council, and also a sick leave transfer request for the Board of Library Trustees.
Motion, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded, roll call vote, Dean?
Aye.
Bill? I too vote in the affirmative. Thank you, we will not be returning to open session. I'd like to wish everyone a very happy and safe Thanksgiving. Thank you and good night.